Welcome to History Inside a Nutshell, the show where we sail into our port of call discussing maritime history.
When everyone thinks of couples, whether fictional or real, the one couple some people can easily think of is the story of Jack and Rose from James Cameron's Titanic. After all, their love was inspired by several couples who travelled on the Titanic's maiden voyage. Aside from the Titanic, there have been more love stories that have come to light. Some of them have never been told before. Well, until this video. Today we'll be looking into stories which occurred at sea in the run-up to Valentine's Day. John and Sarah's story is a tragic, forgotten story, though it is similar to first-class passengers Isidore and Ida Strout, except there was one difference. They were travelling on the Titanic as second-class passengers. John and Sarah were recently married before they boarded the Titanic in Southampton on the 10th of April 1912. When the Titanic was sinking, the Chapmans were seen standing on the A promenade deck. With Second Officer Charles Lightoller in charge, he put people into lifeboat number 4. When she was told that John couldn't come with her, Sarah stepped out of the lifeboat saying to a friend, "If John can't go, I won't go either." Both John and Sarah perished in the sinking. Sarah's body was never recovered or identified. John's body was recovered, and inside his suit and overcoat, crewmen of the CS Mackie Bennett recovered massive amounts of items, including a handkerchief, a chained locket, a gold watch, and a badge. Although this is told from one perspective, this story was found online by accident. It's about how one couple survived the Lusitania disaster, and Ethel loved to talk about it again and again to her family. Ethel retold her story in a recording she gave in 1959, and she gave a detailed account of her and Stanley's story. In May 1915, Stanley was planning to travel to England on business. Not wanting to be left behind, having been married the previous year, Ethel joined him after booking a passage on the Lusitania, insert shameless plug here, where they travelled as second-class passengers. On the 7th of May, Ethel and Stanley went for lunch together, but following a conversation with a nervous passenger that morning, Ethel requested Stanley he should get a table near a door. When the German submarine U-20 struck the Lusitania, the couple stood up from the table and walked on deck on the ship's starboard side. On the deck, the couple heard an officer shouting, "Ladies and gentlemen, the boat has been struck, but the Lusitania couldn't possibly sink." In response, Ethel walked up to the officer and said he was a liar. When the couple made their way to the starboard side, people were getting into lifeboats. When she was told to by an officer, she refused to leave Stanley, but someone threw her into lifeboat 13. Ethel witnessed the Lusitania making her final plunge, wondering if she would ever see Stanley again. The couple reunited at Queenstown, now Cove, Ireland. During the sinking, Stanley lost his clothes when he was at sea, and he was found naked. He borrowed clothes, but the clothes he wore were a little boy's suit. The couple returned to Canada, where they lived together before Stanley died of hypothermia in 1931 and Ethel died in 1961. If you would like to listen to the recording, a link will be left in the description below. Whether this is a true story or a work of fiction, finding your spouse on the Mayflower is a usual place. But what if I was to tell you that on board the Mayflower, there was a love triangle? On the ship's way to America, Priscilla Mullins and John Alden, a crew member, met when the ship sailed from Southampton. But Priscilla also met a military officer named Miles Standish, who had his eyes on her. Miles was too shy to speak to Priscilla, but John encouraged Miles to propose to her by saying to him, "Why don't you speak for yourself, John?" However, Priscilla was in love with John, and knowing they were courting in secret, the couple didn't want to offend Miles. When the Mayflower landed in America, John and Priscilla learnt about Miles dying in a battle. The pair married. At the end of their wedding, Miles revealed himself and told them that he didn't die in battle. Despite his heartbreak, Miles gave the newlyweds his blessing. Their story was told in a 1658 poem entitled The Courtship of Miles Standish by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. As for the couple, they went on to have 10 children, and John became assistant governor, living in Massachusetts. These stories have shown that not every relationship is like the couples you see in the movies. But whether they are tragic or thrilling, their stories prove that anyone can find or share romance on board a ship, and their hearts will go on and on. So Jack and Rose, eat your heart out.
And a massive thank you to Jack Monaghan for narrating this week's video. Jack is a freelance screenwriter and voice actor, but he's also a big fan of Lego, and he talks about on social media on the day-to-day life of what it's like being an autistic freelance actor. So if you are interested in looking at his work or just having a look at his pictures of his amazing Lego builds or many of the amazing activities that he's done, that he's shared, I will leave links to his Instagram and his LinkedIn page in the description box down below. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe for more historical content. Until next time, this has been History Inside a Nutshell, Departing from the Docks. Thank you so much for all of your support and enjoy the rest of your voyage.